The words radical Islam have been used by many people to describe what we witnessed here in Paris, but you do not hear that phrase uttered by the White House. The White House prefers a different label, not radical Islam, but violent extremism.
We have not chosen to use that label because it doesn't seem to accurately describe what had happened. We also don't want to be in a situation where we are legitimizing what we consider to be a completely illegitimate justification for this violence, this act of terrorism.
So is this semantics, not using the word Islam or Muslim to describe what happened here, or is it an important distinction? Harris Zafar is vice president of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association, one of the oldest and largest American Muslim organizations in the world. He's also the author of the book Demystifying Islam, Tackling the Tough Questions. This is one of those tough questions. I'm also joined by Michael Smerconish. He, of course, is a CNN political commentator and host of his own show Saturdays at 9 a.m. Eastern. And Michael, I want to start with you here. You are not pleased with the White House decision not to use the phrase radical Islam or Muslim extremism. When I say you are not pleased, I think that's probably putting it lightly.
Well, I think it's dishonest by omission. Nobody is suggesting that we should describe these terror acts as having been committed by Islam. That would be ridiculous because they're not committed by Islam, but they are committed by individuals who represent a very violent strand of radical Islam. And I think that to not say so is to, frankly, be misleading. To me, John, it would be like discussing pedophile priests, but saying, don't utter the word Catholic. It would be like saying we're going to have a conversation about the mafia or La Cosa Nostra, but we're never going to mention individuals of Italian heritage. I don't like this censorship. I think the censorship assumes that if you say these words, there'll be a revolt among all Muslims, all followers of the Islamic faith. But, you know, that's as bad as individuals who say in the aftermath of one of these attacks that it's representative of the entire faith when it's not. So I'm for transparency. I'm for honesty.
Harris, what do you make of that? Does the word Muslim or Islam have to be included here to accurately describe what happened?
Oh, it's a fair point that your other guest just brought up. For us, it's not really a matter of being offensive. You know, I really don't take offense if somebody calls it Muslim extremism or Muslim terrorists. But I will push back that some people do take it forward. On other networks, they've actually called this an Islamic attack. Not even so the word terrorism is removed. So for us, instead of validating the assertion that this is Islamic and empowering those groups that claim this is Islamic and saying, see, this is, we in the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association, which is the youth group of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, which is a worldwide organization, our effort is to save youth from ever becoming radicalized. So we stop it right at the core and say, if you want to know what Islam is, no matter what your beliefs are, come, we'll teach you. Don't get duped into thinking that's Islamic. But for me, the far more offensive thing is the manner in which Muslims react. And like this terror attack, when bad things happen and people do bad things, we have to be out front in condemning it in word and in deed. Like the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association, we hit the streets to condemn these type of acts.
We, as in all of you, you think that Muslims, moderate, certainly not radical, and I did use the word radical Islam there, even though the White House didn't, but everyone needs to condemn it, even if they have no involvement or connection to it, Harris?
I think that anytime people behave badly, the human decency in us is to feel bad about those that suffer and to say that this is not right, regardless of who that is. And so I don't think it's fair to ever expect a Muslim to have to apologize or condemn an act, especially considering that we have a 10, 20-year track record of doing that every single time. But, you know, part of us, we have to be able to push back. And our Stop the Crisis campaign is to push back on ISIS and those type of groups to say that we need to have a war of ideas to prove that Islam does not sanction what you're saying, and we need to save Muslims from becoming targets of recruitment of groups like that.
I think it's easy to say that any person of any faith, any human, can freely speak out about the types of things that happen here. Michael, there's an interesting quote from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who talks about this idea that some people have, and in Harris voices this, that perhaps many moderate Muslims need to go out of their way to speak out against more radical Islam. Listen to what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote in Time magazine. He said when the Ku Klux Klan burns a cross in a black family's yard, prominent Christians are not required to explain how these aren't really Christian acts. Most people already realize that the KKK doesn't represent Christian teachings. That's what I and other Muslims long for, the day when these terrorists praising the Prophet Muhammad for Allah's name as they debase their actual teachings are instantly recognized as thugs disguising themselves as Muslims. Michael, your reaction?
Well, I think it's an apples and oranges comparison. I'm no expert on the KKK, thank God. It's been a while since those type of antics were somewhat commonplace. But John, to the extent the KKK ever acted in the name of the Bible or under the name of Jesus Christ or one of the apostles, then I think it would be fair to call out the KKK and say, you know, these are lunatics who are acting in the name, some perverted notion of their faith. As far as I know, that's not the basis on which they were conducting themselves. But if it were, I'm for disclosure of whatever the facts are, because I think unless you're transparent, you're never going to get to the root of the problem and deal with it. So that's what I'm trying to say.
No, the fact is, what you're saying is that these people are doing it in the name of Islam, even, if it's only in their perverted view of what Islam is, correct?
That is what I'm saying. I mean, if they said that they were going to undertake acts of terror in the name of Walt Whitman, then I would be saying, well, we've got to tell that part of the story, because to not share that is to be playing a censorship role, which I think is an unhealthy precedent for us to set. I am by no means trying to equate what these individuals did at Charlie Hebdo last week with the faith at large, but let's single them out for what they are. They're individuals acting in some perverted interpretation.
Michael Smerconish, Harris Zafar, appreciate your input here. Thanks so much. Brooke, let's go back to you, New York.